Welcome to today's video. Today I'm going to teach you how to be in control of your own brainwashing so that you can get the success that you want. Let's dive in. When I first heard about affirmations, and for years, I thought affirmations are just this woo-wooey, frou-frou, fluffy thing, and no, I'm just going to ignore my problems and say that everything's amazing and everything's positive. But really, more than anything else, if you use affirmations are probably the most powerful tool that you can use to brainwash yourself. And I'm going to talk about what brainwashing yourself means and how to actually do it today. But the deal is we need to figure out exactly what it is that we want in our life and then speak it into existence. If you know the phrase abracadabra is not just a phrase of what, a magician says when they pull a rabbit out of a hat. Abracadabra is actually a Hebrew word, ancient Hebrew word that means as I speak, I create. As I speak, I create. So constantly, I am speaking into existence whatever it is that I say. And when you're talking to yourself in your head, you are speaking to yourself in your head. And so, I don't think anyone listening, including myself, speaking to you guys, really understands how powerful of creators we actually are. Like, I think that we are beyond more powerful than we can actually comprehend. And we know we're powerful and we can create the life that we want, but I don't think we actually truly understand how powerful we actually are and how that we have created the lives that we currently have. Mostly unconsciously, we've created them. So if we've unconsciously created life that we have, why not figure out exactly the life that we want in the future? And then instead of unconsciously living, we actually consciously create it. We consciously speak it into existence and work towards it every single day. And so when you look at affirmations, what exactly are affirmations? They're really simple. They're just positive affirmations are these simple, empowering statements that basically encourage you to declare the reality that you want to live in. You speak the reality that you want to live in. You don't speak based off of the past. You don't speak based off of the present. You speak based off of the reality that you want to create and you're going to be stepping into. And sure, we can say it's just words. It's just speaking to yourself. But once again, as I speak, I create. Most people are not saying what they want. They're not creating what they want in their lives. They think about, they speak to themselves about what they're worrying about. They speak to themselves about what they're afraid of and what they don't like about themselves. In fact, when you look at neuroscience, when you look at psychology, when you look at ancient spiritual traditions, all of those together talk about the same thing. The words that you speak, especially when you repeat them consistently, reshape and shape how you see the world. Neuroscience says this, psychology says this. Every spiritual tradition I've almost ever seen and read about says this as well. It changes the way that you see the world and the meaning that you give everything that happens to you and everything that happens around you. And ultimately, how you then respond to everything that happens to you. And so to understand how affirmations work, it's really important to know a little bit about your brain's neuroplasticity and the actual science behind your brain. So I'm not just going to talk about manifesting and speaking into existence and going on the edge of a mountain and declaring what it is that you want. I'm going to actually talk about how, sure, those things can work, but how when you do it over and over again, it actually reorganizes your brain. And so when you look at neuroplasticity is your brain's ability to reorganize itself and form new neural connections throughout your life. This isn't just some people, this is every person. Your brain is always changing. It's always adapting to new information, new things that happen to you, whatever it is that you feed it, whether it's positive or negative, it's just responding. It's not putting them into categories. And when you repeatedly speak something, or when you have certain thoughts over and over again, you strengthen the neural pathways that are associated with those thoughts, which then make you more likely to think that way in the future. And so if you regularly tell yourself, I'm confident, I'm capable, I deserve success, well, then you're going to strengthen those neural pathways in your brain, which make you more likely to think that in the future, which means that you can consciously start to think these things. And then later on down the road, those thoughts actually start to become automatic. So your brain begins to associate those words with your sense of self. And then over time, these pathways become stronger and they tend to influence your emotions. They influence your actions. They change the way that you interact with the world around you. That's positive self-talk. But on the other side, if we have negative self-talk, if we say stuff like, I'm not good enough, I always fail, I'm not smart, whatever it is that you say, it also strengthens those pathways, but it reinforces your doubt, your anxiety, your low self-esteem, which in turn shapes the way that you think about everything in your life and ultimately how you're going to respond to it. And so what we need to do, and what I keep going back to, is consciously choose our affirmations in the way that we're going to speak to ourselves. Because essentially what you're doing when you consciously choose what it is that you want to say, and you're very adamant about making sure that you speak to yourself this way, you are going to rewire your brain to support more positive, more empowered version of yourself that's going to take action towards the life that you want. And so in order to understand this, you've got to understand this thing that's called the reticular activating system in your brain. And if you go back a couple weeks ago, I talk about much more in depth about the reticular activating system, but let me give you a real quick overview. The reticular activating system is the filter in your brain between your conscious and your subconscious mind. It's basically the bouncer at the door. It decides what information gets through and what information doesn't. And it's based largely on what you decide to focus on. And so when you use positive affirmations and you consciously decide how you want to speak to yourself, you're basically directing your reticular activating system to pay attention to the things that align with the goals that you're trying to create. And so when you say stuff like, I'm going to be successful, I'm creating an amazing life, and you start noticing opportunities around you, and you start noticing people and places and things that respond to that, it's not that those opportunities suddenly appear out of nowhere. They were always there. But now your brain has been primed to recognize them versus filter them out. And so it doesn't let opportunities slip by now because it's focused on looking for those opportunities. And so you're basically controlling the filter of your brain versus, once again, just unconsciously letting it do what it's going to do. And so this leads to a concept that's known as a self-fulfilling prophecy, which I also did an episode on a few weeks ago. So I've got some real good episodes over the past few weeks you can go back and listen to. But real quick, what's a self-fulfilling prophecy? When you believe something strongly enough, you unconsciously behave in ways to make that belief come true. So if you think I'm a failure, you're going to unconsciously behave in ways to make yourself fail. It is a self-fulfilling prophecy. But when you say I deserve success and I'm going to have everything I want one day, you unconsciously start to behave in ways to make that belief come true. And so if you believe you're going to fail, then you're going to avoid taking risks. You're going to procrastinate. You're going to not put all of your effort. You're going to half-ass some of the things that you do. And that will eventually lead to the failure that you were concentrating on. On the flip side of that, like I was saying, if you plant seeds for success and you say, I deserve to be success, I'm going to be successful, I'm resilient, I'm resourceful, everything that happens to me is for my own betterment and to help me grow and to help me improve, then you start to build this mindset that makes you more likely to overcome obstacles and to keep working towards that thing that you're trying to create. The more you speak it, the more you believe it, and the more that you act in ways that align with that belief. This is your own brainwashing, is what you're doing. Your actions and what you do stem from what you believe. So affirmations literally change your beliefs because beliefs are just thoughts that you've been thinking for a really long time. And so if you have negative thought patterns, if you have self-doubt, if you have the fear of failure, if you have the imposter syndrome, all of those are deeply ingrained into us, but all of those patterns, all of those ways of speaking to yourself, you learned in some sort of way. And if they were learned, it means that they could be unlearned. They're not fact, they're not set in stone. They can be unlearned. It just requires you to be very conscious and pay attention to what you're saying. And we were all unconsciously programmed in our childhood by other people, by the world, by our own young minds that didn't really consciously know what was going on. Now that we're adults, you're listening to this podcast, you can consciously program yourself to believe what it is that you want to believe. It is time for you and you alone to start to brainwash yourself. Not me, not the government, not politics, not your parents, but for you to sit down and be like, what do I want? What do I believe? Who am I going to be as a human? And I'm going to brainwash myself to believe this and not pay attention to whatever other people tell me I should believe. And so when you use these affirmations, they interrupt old patterns, and then you start replacing old patterns and old thought processes with believing in yourself, with empowering beliefs. So, if, for instance, you catch yourself thinking like, I'll never be successful, and you notice that thought come into your head, okay, well, that shows me something I need to reprogram. And I can consciously replace that thought with, I am worthy of success. I'm capable. And I'm getting better every single day, and I will be successful one day. Over time, this practice starts to weaken the old negative thought patterns, and then it strengthens the new positive ones, which is literally the definition of neuroplasticity. So the words that you speak to yourself affect your relationship with yourself, but it also influences massively how you interact with other people, how you interact with the world. And so, if you use affirmations like, I am a supportive, compassionate friend, I communicate clearly and openly and vulnerably with my partner, all of these things start to help you develop healthier relationships and more fulfilling relationships. And when you affirm them, you're more likely to embody them, which then helps you become better as a friend and better as a partner and better as a spouse. And so you have to understand there's the idea of affirmations and how to actually start doing it. But really what it comes down to is you need to figure out what you want in life and what you don't want in life. And then what you need to do is you need to actually start speaking the things that you want to speak. So then everybody always asks the question, that's nice. Well, then how do I create affirmations? Well, let me give you my exact 3-step process that I give people, and I'll tell you why it works. And I'll give you a bunch of examples of exactly how to make it better and how to keep working on yourself and how to keep speaking to yourself. Creating a perfect affirmation is very simple. I don't like, people that sit outside and they're like, meditate and say, the money is flowing freely to me from all corners of the universe. And then you wake up one day and you have $1 million in your bank account. That's bullshit. We all know that's bullshit, right? It's not about that. What it's about is I'm trying to actually consciously reprogram myself, not just sit around and think that there's just going to be money that, Pluto is going to send me into my Bank of America account. So what it comes down to is because when you start saying, oh, I am rich beyond belief, we all have a bullshit meter in our head. And immediately we're like, that's bullshit. I have $12 in my account. So that's not going to work. And so what you want to do is this 3-step process. Okay. Number 1, it needs to be true. Number 2, it needs to be empowering. And number 3, it needs to be present tense. True, empowering, present tense. So let me give you an example of how people negatively speak to themselves. And once you notice that negative thought pattern, if you want to rewire it into something different, what you could rewire it into. Now, don't steal mine. You can if you want to, I don't care. But I would prefer you come up with something that feels empowering to you, that strikes a chord. So let's create something that's true, empowering, and present tense, right? A lot of people say stuff like, I'll never be successful. Well, how do we take that and we change it? Okay. I'm building success through working hard every single day. Okay. That's good because it's not like I'm successful because you automatically know that you're not as successful as you want to be. It's like I'm building success through hard work every single day. That feels better. I'm working my ass off every single day. I'm not successful yet, but I'm getting there. If you say stuff like, I'll never be happy. Well, an empowering change to that would be, I choose happiness in gratitude in my life now. Or I choose to focus on what I'm grateful for and find my happiness for what I already have. Whatever it is, it strikes a chord for you. If you're one of those people that says, I'm not confident, I trust myself in every situation. Because trust is the first piece of confidence, right? So I'm going to start working on my trust within myself. Instead of saying, I'm not confident, I trust myself in every situation. If you say stuff like, I'm just so anxious all the time, well, that's going to find more ways to be anxious. So it's like, I am working on becoming more calm, centered, even in the most challenging moments. So instead of saying like, I am calm, which you might not always be calm, it's like, I'm working on. It's true, it's empowering, and it's present tense. I am working on becoming more calm and centered, especially in challenging moments in my life. If you say stuff like, oh, it's impossible for me to lose weight. Impossible? No, it's not true. Could it be harder for you than other people? Sure. But you could switch it to, I'm working harder to be healthier every single day. I'm working to create a body that's healthy every single day so that I can live longer for my grandchildren. Whatever it is that strikes a chord with you. If you say something like, I always procrastinate. Oh, I'm such a procrastinator. You'd say something like, I'm working on taking action towards my goals and focusing on doing what needs to be done. If you say stuff like, disempowering, like, I'm not really a good girlfriend, if that's what you say. You can say stuff like, I'm working at becoming a loving and supporting partner. I'm working hard every single day to become a better partner for my spouse, for my boyfriend, for my girlfriend, whatever it is. I'm not very disciplined, right? I am working at becoming more and more focused and disciplined so that I can achieve the life that I want. And you say these things to yourself over and over and over and over again. So there's like a broken record in your head so that you actually start to rewire yourself. Because repetition is required in order for you to brainwash yourself and in order for you to actually start to change and use neuroplasticity. Oh, I'm such a negative person. I choose to embrace positivity and to try to find the best in every situation around me. Oh, I'm not a very creative person. I am more creative than I know, and my ideas flow naturally. Oh, I'm not good enough. I am enough, and I improve every single day through my efforts. I'm afraid of failure. No, I'm resilient, and I learn from everything that I fail at, and everything that happens to me is a lesson for me to grow and get better. No, people don't really like me. I'm kind, I'm confident, and I attract supportive relationships. I'm so disorganized. I'm becoming more organized every single day, and I'm working on managing my time effectively. I'm shy. I'm not really good at putting myself out there. I'm not really a people person. I am open to new connections and new meaningful relationships in my life. I'm so hard on myself. I am going to start treating myself with more kindness and find ways to celebrate my success and my progress. Oh yeah, I can't really make a difference. I am working on making a difference and a positive impact with my actions every single day. Oh, I just have bad luck. I create my own opportunities and attract good fortune with my actions. Do you guys see how it's not like I'm just making up stuff that's just complete bullshit. It's like, these are things that I'm consciously working towards. Where it's like, instead of saying like, oh, I'm rich, it's like, I'm working hard every day to build more wealth in my bank account in my life, or to build more wealth in financial stability. Whatever it is that rings true for you, it's got to be true, it's got to be empowering, and it's got to be present tense. And over time, when you do this over and over and over and over again, like I always say, you can't control your first thought, but you can always control your second thought. So when you notice that first thought come in, you change it to the second thought that you want to rewire into your brain. And if you do this over and over again, hundreds of times, thousands of times, tens of thousands of times, over the next 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, eventually you'll fast forward, and what was your second thought will naturally start to become your first thought because you were in charge of brainwashing yourself. The positive affirmations will actually start to change the way that you think. Your brain will rewire itself. And you'll notice that when it rewires itself, your mindset will change, your emotions will change, your behavior will change. And then challenges that you have now that felt really overwhelming will just be like, oh, this is just an opportunity for me to grow. And those negative thought patterns will start to fade. They'll start to be replaced with more empowering ones, with a better internal dialogue. And so it's really important for all of the people that are listening out there to realize how powerful you are. And we have all been brainwashed unconsciously by other people, by ourselves, by teachers, by friends, by everyone else that's around us. It's time for us to brainwash ourselves and to decide what it is that we want in our life and to start speaking it into existence, because you are much more of a powerful creator than you understand. So that's what I got for you for today's episode. If you love this episode, please share it on your Instagram stories. Tag me in at Rob Dial Jr., ROBDIALJR. Once again, if you want to get my book, Level Up, it is on sale right now on Amazon. For Kindle, it is $1.99. So just go to Amazon, put in Level Up Rob Dial. It'll pop up. And go ahead and get it at a discount. That's what I got for you for today's episode. I'm going to leave you the same way I leave you every single episode. Make it your mission to make somebody else's day better. I appreciate you, and I hope that you have an amazing day. Welcome to today's video. Today I'm going to teach you a 5-step process to have more peace in your life and less stress. Let's dive in. So many people don't prioritize their peace, and I think that we suffer too much, and it's so unnecessary when you look at it. And I want you to understand there's really only 2 states that we can be in at one point in time in a human. So as a human, we can either be in a beautiful state or we can be in a state of suffering. And so everything at any point in time in life, we're at varying degrees of one of these. So you might not be in like a crazy blissful state, but you're like a calm, peaceful state. That's a pretty beautiful state. You might not be in a full anxiety attack, but you could be like underlying stress. That could be a suffering state. And so when you look at like a beautiful state, for instance, what does this look like? This is happiness. This is love. This is peace. This is calm. This is gratitude. This is compassion. It's excitement. It's the feeling of just like a weight off your shoulders. We all know those feelings, right? Of what it feels like to be in a beautiful state. It's this underlying tone of peace, of things are okay right now. I'm happy with where life is. I'm happy. There's not really a whole lot to worry about. And if there is something to worry about, it's not right now. It could be coming up in the future. It's just this feeling of, I remember working with a coach years ago and he's like, what do you want more of? And I was like, I don't know the word. I just want more. That's what I want more of. Like the feeling when you take a deep breath and you release and your shoulders go down and your eyebrows kind of chill out and they're not so scrunched up and everything. You know, you're comfortable in the world. You're comfortable in your own skin. You're more at ease. And because of this, people are more comfortable around you. Your children are more comfortable around you and they don't feel like they have to be on edge. Your spouse is more comfortable around you. They don't feel like they have to be on edge. Your employees, your coworkers, your subordinates, whatever it is that you have that are around you at work are like, just being in this person's presence is calming. You all know somebody who has this presence that's calming, right? It's calm to be in your presence when you're like that. And you put people around you at ease. You don't stress them out. That's what it feels like when you're there. And because of your presence, it affects everyone you come in contact with. You can act like your energy inside of your body doesn't affect everybody else, but you know, and I know it does. A beautiful state is not, and this is really the key part of the whole situation, right? A beautiful state is not about the situation of what's going on in your life. It's not about the circumstances in your life. It's not about being exactly where you want and life is exactly what I want it to be, because it never will be. More than anything else, it's like the situation and circumstances are what they are, but I feel at ease and at peace and calm no matter what the circumstances are. You're the calm in the eye of the storm versus being in the storm itself. You know, and it's more about what you think about and what you feel about with the circumstance in your life. I remember one time where this kind of really hit home, and this is a kind of a weird example, but I remember I was traveling like 7 years ago and I was flying back into Austin. I came from Florida and it was all warm and my plane flight was late. And then we got delayed on the tarmac, and then it was another delay and all kinds of canceled flights and all this stuff kept happening, right? And I finally get home to Austin, and I was in Florida where it was warm and it was sunny because it's the Sunshine State. And I came to Austin and just like shit kept happening, right? And I came to Austin and it was cold, like 35 degrees, and it was rainy. And it was like crappy out. And I remember the doors opened after I got my bags and it was just like blowing in. And immediately the thought in my head was like, fuck, right? Like it was just like the day had kept going. And I was like, okay, this isn't that bad, you drama queen, right? And I was like, what's beautiful about this moment? And I asked myself the question, what's beautiful about this moment? What beauty can I find in this? And I started listing things off and thinking of things. Well, you know, it's at least my plane landed and I'm safe and I get to come home and I get to go to my house and I get to be in my place of peace. I started thinking about all these things and I was like, I'm listening to music and I'm going to put on a song that I love. And I remember taking myself from like the stressed out feeling based off the entire day and all the stuff that's happening to, hey, it doesn't matter what happened. It doesn't matter what today has been. It doesn't matter what the weather is outside. I'm going to be at peace. I'm going to find beauty in this moment, no matter what. That's what I mean by the circumstances and everything that's happening around you shouldn't affect your internal state. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to master the internal state regardless of what's going on externally. So that's a beautiful state. On the other side is the suffering state, which I found myself in a lot when I was younger. This is stress. This is anxiety. This is worry. This is fear. This is anger, it's sadness, it's boredom, whatever it is that comes up for you. It's basically this underlying tone of something is not right and I am not at ease. And so your nervous system might feel on guard, waiting for an attack, constantly trying to protect you in some sort of way. Something's not right, so I need to be on edge. I was this way for a long, long time. Like things were good in my life, but for some reason I just wasn't at ease. And I remember I was listening to a podcast episode. There's a guy that was interviewing a psychologist And he was like, hey, is it possible for people, this is a podcaster asked this to the psychologist. He's like, is it possible for people to be addicted to stress? And the psychologist was like, yes. And as the question was asked, I was like, oh my God, I think I might be addicted to stress based off of, the way I viewed my childhood, things that happened to me, going to school, all of these things, my first business was stressful, all of that. I was like, oh my God, have I become like addicted to the feeling of stress? Like I was the type of person who couldn't even chill on vacation. Hey, real quick, I want to introduce you to something called Mindset Mentor Plus. If you love this podcast, you will absolutely love what I'm about to talk about. I designed Mindset Mentor Plus to help you actively integrate every one of these episodes into your life. And here's how it works. With every episode of this podcast that comes out, Mindset Mentor Plus subscribers get more. You're going to get multiple page, detailed, printable worksheets, effectively a mini masterclass that's way more in depth than just this podcast. They also come with journaling questions, challenges, assignments, and so much more, so that you're not just listening to these podcasts passively, but you're actively integrating them into your life. That way you improve much faster. I also do monthly Q&A sessions in there and much, much more. If you want to learn more about it, go to mindsetmentor.com or click the link that's down in the description. I've been there and I know what it feels like. And I know that you being uneasy, me being uneasy, makes other people around us uneasy as well. We can't act like how we feel internally doesn't affect other people externally outside of us. And one of the most important decisions that you'll ever make in your entire life is the decision of what state you're going to be in at any moment, and realizing that you are the one in control of it. Has nothing to do with what's happening outside of you. It is a decision of I'm going to be in a beautiful state no matter what. Now, mind you, you can make this decision. It does not mean that you're going to be there forever. Don't sit there and think, I'm going to be in a beautiful state and then get pissed off whenever you get out of a beautiful state, right? You're a human. You'll be having a great day. You wake up, you get to watch the sunrise. You have a great day with your dog, your kids. You're having your coffee. It's amazing. You're in a beautiful state. And then something will happen and you'll react to that something, and you'll immediately go into a state of suffering, and you'll lose yourself. You'll lose this beautiful state that you were in until you become aware of oh, hold on. I feel like crap. Why do I feel like crap? Oh, it's because of this thing. And this is how I'm reacting to it. It's not about never going into the state of suffering, because you will probably never get to the point of never getting there. It's about recognizing when you go into that state of suffering, and recognizing, this is the key part, recognizing that you put yourself in that state. Nobody else put you there. It wasn't the outside circumstance. It wasn't the guy who cut you off on the way to work, right? It was you that put yourself. It was your reaction to the circumstance, not the circumstance itself. And then taking the necessary action to get yourself back into a beautiful state. Oh, I've lost myself. I'm not in a beautiful state. I want to be in a beautiful state. What do I need to do? And I'll give you examples of how to get yourself back in a beautiful state at the end of the episode. So an example, let's say you have a lot going on at work right now. It's a lot. And you have this deadline, this really important deadline that's approaching next week. And you don't know if you're going to make the deadline. And so all day long, you're at your office, you're at your desk, and you're worrying. You're stressed, you're anxious about this deadline. You're still taking the action that you need to, but you're taking the action with this energy of just absolute stress. This is super common, right? You've done this before. I've done this before many times. But then you realize that the deadline is next week. And in the moment, you can take yourself out. And in this moment, you can ask yourself, what is wrong? Are you okay? Are you safe right now? Is everything okay in this very moment? Yes, I get it. You have something, you have a deadline that's coming. But right now, are you okay? Yeah, you're okay. Okay. So you're stressing out right now in this beautiful moment, or what could be a beautiful moment, over possibly not being done in the future. You're not even not done in the future. You might get everything done. And then you realize the entire week you stressed out. You put your body through so much unnecessary stress, and guess what? You got it done anyways. And so what can you do when you notice, oh my God, I'm stressing out. I'm stressing out over this thing that's in the future, even though right now it's a beautiful moment. First, you got to bring yourself to the present moment. How do you get yourself to the present moment? You have to realize that your mind is almost always somewhere else. Your mind is almost always in the future, or it is almost always in the past. It's very rarely ever here in this moment. There is one thing that is always in this moment. Do you know what it is? It's your body. Your body is always here. So if you want to bring yourself out of your mind, out of this stress, out of the future, out of the worry, all of those things, you need to get yourself back into your body because your body is here. And how do you do that? Breathing techniques. Breathing techniques you could do, 4 seconds in, 8 seconds out, and do that for 5 minutes. It will definitely bring you back in your body. You can do 6 deep breaths over a minute if you want to. Then you get yourself back into your body. You calm yourself down a little bit. You make a list of all of the things that need to be done by the deadline. You prioritize them. Okay, this is the most important thing that has to be done first, number 1. This is number 2. This is number 3. Okay, we've got number 1, number 2, number 3. I need to take action number 1. And I need to take action coming from a place of ease instead of stress and worry and anxiety. Either way, the deadline will eventually be here. And if we're being real, you'll probably get it done. You'll probably get it all done. So you could get it all done feeling stressed and feeling anxious and feeling worried and just this feeling of like white knuckling your way through life with your cortisol and your adrenaline running through your veins, stressed out when you get home from work. And because you're so stressed out from work, maybe you have a short fuse and you blow up on your children or your wife and you're now making them anxious being around you. And now they're feeling stressed because of your stress and your anxiety of being around you. And now you're not just affecting yourself, but you're also affecting them as well. And now you just realize it's all out of control. You could be that way if you want to. Or you could see that the reason why you're stressed out is because you're seeing all of the stuff that you have to do. But you realize, as a human, you can only do one thing at a time. And like the phrase, there's a phrase, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. It's the exact same thing. You can only take this action and get this each part of the project done one thing at a time. So you get yourself into a calm state. You do some breathing. You prioritize number 1, number 2, number 3. You find the most important thing that you do and you just take action on number 1. Wouldn't you agree that you take better action when you're calm and when you're centered and when you're focused instead of a stressed out little kid that's mentally throwing a temper tantrum? Yeah, you take better action. It's actually scientifically proven that you take better action when you're in a calm state. You make better decisions when you're in a calm state versus a stressed out state. When you're stressed, when you're anxious, when your body is in fight or flight, your body stops sending as much blood flow to your prefrontal cortex of your brain, which is your executive functioning, your decision-making part of the brain. So if you're stressed, you're actually making shittier decisions than if you're calm. And so, yeah, you should definitely get yourself into a calm state. So that's an example of work. Let's make an easy one. Traffic. Right? You leave early. You're good. You hit a lot of traffic on the way. Oh my God, you're going to be late. You're going to be late to work. Oh my God. You're sitting there and you're thinking about what other people are going to think of you when you show up late and you look like an idiot walking in late to a meeting and how your boss is going to be like, what an idiot. Right? You could think that way. Or you realize that you can't move traffic. Like for me, it is ingrained in me. I hate being late. My mom always wanted to be early. My mom, and this is a true story, all of the clocks in my house when I was a kid were always different times. They were always between like 5 and 15 minutes ahead. So I never knew what time it was. I didn't have a watch back then. I didn't have a iPhone when I was a kid. I just knew that the clocks were all different times. And so I would look at the clock that had them, gave me the most time. It was like 15 minutes ahead, I guess. And I'd be like, I got to leave at this one. And I just got to make sure I'm on time. And then I would show up to things at like 5-10 minutes early. So now I have this deep ingrained thing in me. I fucking hate being late. And it's deeply ingrained in me. And so I used to get so stressed out in traffic because I was like, oh my God, I hate being late. I hate being late. I hate being late. But then I just got to a point where I was like, I can't move traffic. I can't do anything about it. I'm just going to take a few deep breaths. I'm going to put my favorite song on because I'm going to arrive at the destination either way at the exact same time. Either I'm going to arrive feeling like crap, putting my body through a bunch of stress, white knuckling the entire way, or I'm just going to go, hey, I'm going to be late. It's just the way it goes. I don't want to be late, but I'm going to at least enjoy the ride. And so there's beautiful state and there's suffering state, And when you look at it kind of like, there's like a lot of different examples I can think of like the difference between the two. There's like expansion and feeling expanded in your life or feeling contracted in your life. It's like creative versus closed. It's empowered versus disempowered. It's possibility in your life or problems in your life. It's being trusting or trying to protect yourself. It's life feeling effortless or life feeling like it's a struggle. It's abundance versus scarcity. It's I get to do these things versus I have to do these things. It's being curious about life or being closed off to life. And our brain responds to whichever state you're in. There is more available to you. Your brain works better when you're in a beautiful state. Like I told you, your brain, when you're in a state of suffering, when you're in a state of stress, your brain stops sending blood flow to the prefrontal cortex. You're not making good decisions. There is more available to you when you are calm. You're more creative. You make better decisions, everything. So there's literally more available to you because your brain can find more that's available to you. So how do you get yourself into a beautiful state when you find yourself into a state of suffering? Very simple. 5 steps. Ready? Number 1, you have to become aware. You have to build awareness within yourself. Become more aware of when your state shifts and when you don't really feel good anymore. I don't feel really good. What the hell was I just thinking? So first thing is become aware. Second thing is to take ownership of this. It's you who put yourself in that state. It's not the circumstance. It's not the situation. It's you and what you're thinking about that circumstance or that situation. The way that you're looking at the situation, and that's it. And it's important because it puts you into a place of power. If you put yourself into that state, then you can get yourself out of that state. If you say, oh, this situation did it to me, well, then you're just a victim of the circumstance and there's nothing you can do about it. But if you say, I'm the one in control, I'm the one who put myself in this state, then I'm the one who get myself out of it. So that's number 2. Number 3, come back to the present moment, come back to your body. Your mind is always in the past and future. It's always fear. It's always suffering. Not always. I don't want to say always. A lot of times we're in fear and we're in suffering and we're in worrying, protection mode. Our body, it's always in the present moment. So go onto YouTube. Take 5 minutes. Just, search breath work on YouTube. 5-minute breath work on YouTube. Do 5 minutes of breath work. Get yourself back in the present moment and feeling good. Number 4 is to start journaling or ask yourself out loud, what can I do right now to make me feel better? What can I do right now to make me feel better? That deadline example that I gave, taking the next action and building momentum, that can make you feel better. The traffic example, putting on your favorite song, taking some deep breaths, that'll make you feel better. What can I do right now to make me feel better? And then the 5th thing is try to start focusing on gratitude more. Every morning, set your internal GPS of how you want to feel, how you want to interact with the world around you. Start focusing on, instead of like what you don't have and what you lack, what you've lost, and start thinking about those things. Oh, I don't have this, or I've lost this. I used to have this. Instead of focusing on lack and loss, start focusing on what you do have, what you can be grateful for. And that will put you from the very beginning, from when you wake up in the morning, into a beautiful state and help you stay there more throughout the day. So that is how you put yourself into a peaceful state and stop suffering and being so stressed out. So that's what I got for you for today's episode. If you love this episode, please share it on Instagram stories. Tag me in at Rob Dial Jr., ROBDIALJR. And if, like I said, you want to learn about how to work with us a little bit more, how to coach us a little bit more, go to mindsetmentor.com. Once again, mindsetmentor.com, and check out the details there. And with that, I'm going to leave the same way I leave you every single episode. Make it your mission to make somebody else's day better. I appreciate you, and I hope that you have an amazing day. Welcome to today's video. Today I'm going to be teaching you how to reinvent yourself no matter where you are in life, no matter what age you are, so that you can go and create the life that you desire. Let's dive in. Today, we're going to be talking about how to reinvent yourself at any age. And I'm going to talk about this. I was running a live earlier today, and it was for Mindset Mentor Plus, which is a community that you've heard me talk about, I'm sure. If you want to learn more about it, you can go to mindsetmentor.com. But basically, I was on the monthly Q&A session, and one of the questions that was asked I thought would be really important for me to cover here. And I got permission from everybody to turn it into a podcast episode. So here we are. There's a question that was asked to me from a lady, and she was basically saying, like, I'm 54 years old. I don't know what to do with my life. I'm lost. I'm stuck. I'm numb. Nothing seems to excite me. Where do I even start to figure out what I want in my life? And she was talking about how she went down this road that she didn't really necessarily want to be on. And I think this is a really important question because of the fact that a lot of times when I talk to people, they feel like they are too far down the road to reinvent themselves in some sort of way. I've talked to people that are older and they don't have any money and they want to reinvent themselves. I've talked to people that are younger that are extremely successful, some extremely successful athletes that don't want to be athletes anymore, extremely successful CEOs that don't want to run their business anymore. No matter where you are, if you feel like the path that you're on is not the path that you want to continue on, if you fast forward 10 years and you're like, I don't want to be the CEO of this major corporation anymore, or I don't want to be broke anymore, or I don't want to be doing this anymore, you can reinvent yourself at any point in time. And I don't know what happens after this life. Nobody on earth actually does. I don't know if there's a heaven and hell. I don't know if we get reincarnated. I don't know if we become worm food. I don't know. But I do know one thing that I'm sure of, and it is that I am here and I am in this life and I'm going to get every single thing that I possibly can from this life. You know, it's not uncommon if you're out there to feel like you're stuck. It's not uncommon to feel like you're lost, to feel like you're numb in some way. Especially if you just are listening to this podcast, you're listening because there's probably a part of you that's woken up in some sort of way. You've woken up and maybe you've woken up to parts of your life where you want your life to be different in many different ways. You've woken up to parts of yourself where you wish that yourself were a little bit different in many different ways. Because what happens is, in order for us to go on this journey of self-development, of spiritual development, we have to go down the wrong road for a little while. You cannot find yourself unless you've lost yourself. And so essentially what the question is saying to me is, Rob, I have lost myself based off of everything that's happened to me so far in the past 54 years. How do I find myself? And that's really what it comes down to is, yeah, you've lost yourself. You probably have conditioning and patterns and things in your life that you picked up from millions and millions of little tiny experiences, things you picked up from your parents, things you picked up from society. And now you've woken up and you've said, I don't want many of these things anymore. There's some of these things that I want, but there's so many things that I don't want. That's fine. You know, it's okay to change your life completely, to uproot everything and change it. Now, I'm not saying if you have children, just like walk out the door and never see them again. That's not what I'm saying. Take care of your responsibilities, pay your bills, take care of your children, all of that. But there's no reason why you can't make a complete 180 shift no matter what your age is. I don't know what excites you. I don't know what's important to you. But you have to actively search for it as much as you possibly can. If you don't know what you love to do, or if you don't know what your purpose or what your passions are, find it. You are in control of your search. That is one thing that you are absolutely in control of, is your search. There's a lot of things in this world you're not in control of, but you searching for the thing that you want to do in this life is something that you're in control of. If you don't know your purpose right now, it's okay. But it's not okay to wake up every day and not search for it if you are now aware that you don't know what your purpose is. Don't become a victim of your circumstances or your age. I don't care your circumstances. I don't care your age. I don't care how old you are. I don't care if you're 60 years old, you graduated at 22, and you've been doing the same thing for the past 28 years. And now you think, well, I've been doing it for 28 years. I might as well just continue doing it until I die. You know, you've been doing it for 28 years. Let's say that you're 60 and let's say you live to 90. That would be amazing, right? That's another 30 years. So you're telling me you're going to spend the next 30 years of your life doing what you don't enjoy, doing what is not your passion, because you've been doing something for 28 years? When you put it in that perspective, it sounds really stupid, doesn't it? It does. So change. Do something different. Move. You're not a tree. You can do something different. And the important part of this is, right now, you've woken up and you've realized that there's parts of your life that need to change. And inside of that part that you need to change, all of that encompassing is your comfort zone. And so getting out of your comfort zone is the most important part of all of this. Repeating the same routine without trying new things is going to make you stagnant. Usually, when I talk to people and they say they feel stuck, I usually ask them, when's the last time you did something new? And it's almost always a long time ago. It's almost always like years ago. When was the last time you did something that was completely out of your comfort zone? Went to a place that you've never been to before. Talked with people and went to a concert that you don't know of or you don't enjoy, and then you went to a different place. Like when's the last time you played a new sport? When's the last time you went to a class to learn how to play a musical instrument, play guitar, play piano? When's the last time that you decided to go to a pottery class? Stop doing the same thing over and over again. If you haven't found your passion, it's because you haven't been searching for it. You stopped searching for your passion like back in 1984. I'll give an example, and I know my mom's going to be okay with it, but I'll give you an example for my mom. My mom, like 5 years ago, was telling me that she feels lonely and she just wants someone to get into a relationship with, and she wanted a partner. And my mom, she has her house that's in Florida, and she has work. She's a realtor. And then my sister has a small farm, and they took the barn in the backyard and they converted it into a 1-bedroom that my mom also stays at as well. And we were having this conversation in the 1-bedroom in the backyard. And I was like, yeah, well, the reason why you haven't met anybody is because you're not putting yourself out there. You're doing the same thing. You're going home, you're going and working, and then you're coming up and going to Sarah's house. And you're hanging out with the children, which is all great and fine. But I promise you this, the man of your dreams is not going to come into your daughter's front yard, walk into the backyard to where the little farmhouse is, knock on the door and be like, excuse me, I'm looking for the love of my life, right? So he's not going to be here. You have to put yourself in places that are different for you in order to find that person. And so what's awesome about my mom, she decided to put herself out of her comfort zone. She started to ask herself, like, what is it that I love to do? And my mom loves dancing. And I don't even know if she's ever taken dance lessons her entire life, but she's like, you know what? I'm going to try to start doing some dance. And so she went to a place that's literally like a 3-minute drive from her house. She started doing dance lessons. She started to meet new people. She started to put herself out there, and she got out of her routine, which is the important thing. She got out of her routine. My parents had divorced like 23 years prior to this conversation. And so she had been in some relationships and dating and stuff like that, but never found like her dream guy. And I was like, you got to put yourself out there. So she started putting herself out there. She started doing stuff, and she started asking herself, like, what do I love? Well, I love to dance. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take some dance classes. I'm just going to meet some new people. And then she started taking dance classes. She got some new friends, and then she started going on dance dates with her friends and going out and dancing and meeting new people and all of this. She started meeting new people and started getting more comfortable being out there and getting out of her normal, typical work and eat and sleep routine, and then go to my sister's house routine and all that stuff. Started meeting new people. A couple years ago, she goes to a friend's party. She ends up meeting a guy there, and my mom gets married at 71 years old to a guy that she's just completely in love with, which is amazing. That's all I've ever wanted for her, is to find somebody. But the key to this story is that she put herself out there. She did something different. She asked herself, what is it that I love? I'm going to try some new things. I want you guys to understand, it's never too late to change. It's not too late to change your life, regardless of your age, regardless of your past experiences, regardless of your education, regardless of anything else that happened to you in your past, regardless of your parents, all of that. You have to take care of your responsibilities, of course, but also make time to explore new interests and to find new things for you. Hey, real quick, I want to introduce you to something called Mindset Mentor Plus. If you love this podcast, you will absolutely love what I'm about to talk about. I designed Mindset Mentor Plus to help you actively integrate every one of these episodes into your life. And here's how it works. With every episode of this podcast that comes out, Mindset Mentor Plus subscribers get more. You're going to get multiple page, detailed, printable worksheets, effectively a mini masterclass that's way more in depth than just this podcast. They also come with journaling questions, challenges, assignments, and so much more, so that you're not just listening to these podcasts passively, but you're actively integrating them into your life. That way you improve much faster. I also do monthly Q&A sessions in there and much, much more. If you want to learn more about it, go to mindsetmentor.com or click the link that's down in the description. As I work with a lot of people who are afraid to get out there and start changing their lives, most people want change. They want their life to be different. They want to be happier. They want to be healthier. But people often, when I talk to them, it's really hard for them to get out of their comfort zone, despite their comfort zone being absolutely miserable to them. The feeling of being miserable has been going on for so long that it's comfortable. And it's weird to think about, but miserable feels comfortable because you've been there for some time. Happiness can be what you want. Joy can be what you want, but you can be scared of it because it's so far out of your comfort zone. It is the unknown. Who will I become if I'm happy? I only know the miserable version of me. I only know this version. I only know the accountant version of me that's been this way for 28 years. Stepping out of your comfort zone, although it is very uncomfortable, can lead to the biggest changes in your life. And so if you're looking at where you currently are and you're like, I don't want to be here, I don't want to do this anymore, well, then you can't wake up tomorrow and do the same shit you've been doing every single day for the past 14 years or 3 years or 2 months or whatever it is for you. You have to get out of your comfort zone. You have to do something new, and you have to try activities you've never done before. Try something that you love. Like, think about to when you were a kid. What did you love to do? Did you love art? Did you love music? Did you love dancing? Did you love going to the movies? Did you love cooking? What were some of the things that you loved as a child? And then ask yourself, can I put myself out there? You know what I love to do? I loved watching my mom do pottery when I was a kid. I wonder if there's any pottery classes around here. And then you Google pottery classes, Austin, Texas, and boom, 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 they all pop up. Or maybe it's in a neighboring city that's 30 minutes away from you if you live in a small town. And it's funny because it seems scary as you start to put yourself out there. It also seems exciting. But then you go and you do this thing that you haven't done in a long time or you've never done before. And a part of you opens up that was never there before. Or maybe let's say this. It's been there all along, but it opens back up. And so what I want you to do is I want you to understand this. When you're starting to think about this, start small. What's the thing that's the easiest to do, the lowest barrier to entry? Is it nerve-wracking to walk into a place and take dance classes when you've never taken dance classes before and maybe look like a fool? Yeah, it is. Could it be fun? It could be fun. Okay, so try some dance classes. Go to a new city. Take a new way home from work. The important part of this is I think more people listening, myself included, all of us, need to be more curious. Do you remember what it was like when you were a kid? Do you remember watching your children? Do you remember watching your nieces and nephews? Just children in general? They're so curious. When was your curiosity killed? Because it's still there. You just got to reignite it. What's down this road? What would it be like to go to a painting class? I wonder if there's any, I want to learn more about psychology. I wonder if there's any courses that I can go to. If there's a local university or community college, maybe I can go and actually learn a little bit more about it. What kind of people are at a dance class? I think what's important, and I have been really bad at this in the past, is my life for a long time became work, and that was it. And I would work, and I would work, and I would work, and I kind of lost my time for play. I think that every one of us needs to make more time for play. Don't just work and work and work. You weren't born to just pay the bills and die and to, see more digits inside of a bank account. Try new things, try new hobbies. For me, it used to be work, but for me, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to have as much play as I possibly can. What is it that seems a little bit interesting to you? What is it that puts you out of your comfort zone? Have you thought about going skydiving? Have you thought about maybe taking your car and racing it around a track? Have you thought about maybe trying some new stuff, going to an arcade? Maybe you like playing video games, or there are other people in the area that like playing video games. Go onto Facebook, start searching your area and see if there's other people that are doing the things that you like to do. There are communities, no matter how weird your thing is that you like, there are definitely communities that are into what you're into. Can you find those communities? Can you find those people? Can you connect to them? There's a part of you that's just looking to be reignited. It's not that it was never there. It's always been there. It's been lying dormant, saying, hey, I'm ready for you to come bring me back. I'm ready to have some fun. I'm ready to find my passion. I'm ready to find my purpose. And your passion and your purpose don't have to be your paycheck. It could just be something that you do outside of work, that you spend your free time doing, but makes you feel like you're alive inside. Because burnout doesn't come from doing too many things. Burnout comes from doing too little of what you actually love. And so what I would recommend to you is to understand no matter what age you are, you can reinvent yourself at any moment. You can bring that childlike feeling back in. You can decide to start that new business and put yourself out there. You can decide to go to a knitting class, start knitting some things, and then start going to a farmer's market and selling the stuff that you knit. There's a million ways to find what it is that you're passionate about, what your purpose is, what makes you feel like a kid again, what lights you up, what feels like play to you but could feel like work to other people. You just have to be willing to get out of your comfort zone. If you're not willing to get out of your comfort zone, you're not going to be able to find it. So that's what I got for you for today's episode. If you love this episode, please share it on your Instagram stories. Tag me in at Rob Dial Jr., ROBDIALJR. And if you love this podcast, you've probably heard me talk about Mindset Mentor Plus. It is basically designed to help you integrate every single one of these episodes into your life. And this is basically how it works. For every single episode of this podcast, Mindset Mentor Plus subscribers are going to get multiple page, detailed worksheets, little tiny mini masterclass that go more in depth than just the podcast. So you can print them out, you can go through them, you can underline them, you can write on them, you can put your notes in it. They have journaling questions in it, so you can take the episodes and you can start to integrate them into your life. There's assignments, there's challenges, and so you can integrate every single one of them so you can improve faster. That's also where we do the monthly Q&A sessions. That's where I got this question from, was a monthly Q&A session. So if you want to learn more about it, there's a video if you go to mindsetmentor.com and check it out. See if it's for you. Once again, it's mindsetmentor.com. And with that, I'm going to leave you the same way I leave you every single episode. Make it your mission to make someone else's day better. I appreciate you, and I hope that you have an amazing day. Welcome to today's episode of the Mindset Mentor Podcast. I'm your host, Rob Dial. If you have not yet done so, hit that subscribe button so that you never miss another podcast episode. Today, we're going to be talking about how to win at life. I'm going to give you a very simple tip to become successful and to essentially beat out any competition that you might have going into the future. I'm going to talk about how to quickly get ahead of everyone else. And if I'm being honest with you, it's really not that difficult. Today, we're going to talk about how to get light years ahead of everybody, but in a very, very short period of time. When you look at the world, where do you see it's going? What do you notice? One of the things that I like to do is I like to look at the world. I like to look at people. I like to look at mindsets. I like to look at actions of people. And I like to see if I can pull some patterns and start to notice things about people. But when I look at the world, I notice a lot of things. But one thing that's becoming very, very obvious at this point in time is that humans are becoming more and more addicted to technology. They're becoming more and more addicted to their TV screens, to their computer screens, to their phone screens. And what I'm starting to notice that if you're somebody who's trying to get ahead in life, if you can do the exact opposite of everybody else, you're going to be able to get light years ahead. Like if you were to go back 50 years ago and you were to be like the 1970s and you were competing against other people or competing against other business owners or competing against other people in, your career, it's kind of an even playing field. But what's really interesting about right now is that it's not really an even playing field. And the reason why is because everybody is becoming more and more addicted to technology. So if you can distance yourself from that technology and stop being entertained all the time, you could get light years ahead of everybody else. And so how do you do it? Start trading your entertainment for education. Start trading all of the time that you would normally be entertaining yourself and start educating yourself in whatever it is that you want to educate yourself on, whatever it is that you want to get further ahead. Start becoming better at something. Like for instance, if I were to say, hey, you know what? I've decided I want to be one of the best guitar players in the world. And I were to say, okay, if I think the average person's on their phone all the time, they're on Netflix all the time. If the average person's doing 3.2 hours per day on Netflix and 4.1 hours per day on their phone and 2 hours and 25 minutes of that phone is on social media. If I just decide to distance myself from Netflix, to distance myself from social media and go, you know what, I'm just going to play guitar for those hours, I will be light years ahead of people within a year. Way further ahead. Fast forward 5 years, not a fucking competition, not even close. And so you've got to start trading. If you want to get really far ahead of everybody else around you, everybody else in this world, start trading your entertainment for educating yourself. If you're like, you know what, I want to become the best therapist in the world. Okay, well, when most people are scrolling through Instagram, when most people are on Netflix, why don't you spend that time reading your textbooks, going through and working with your clients, trying to become better at it, taking time and when your clients leave, instead of going, oh, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to scroll on Instagram for a little while. You actually go back and if you have a recording of your time with them, you listen to it. You see how you can improve, how you can get better. If you're trying to be somebody who builds a following online, well, you could scroll through Instagram and try to find, see other people who are your competition, entertain yourself. Or you could say, how can I become the best entertainer through the medium of video that I can possibly become? Maybe you take some acting classes. Maybe you take some improv classes. Maybe you take Toastmasters and some speech classes. There's many things that you can do to make yourself better. When the average person is just getting sucked into their phone and not realizing it, and they're mindlessly going into Netflix and not realizing it. If you want to dominate any industry, trade your entertainment for education. The human attention span in the past 20 years has gone down 33%. Want to become a superhuman? Trade that entertainment for education and taking action. When most people are looking at cat videos on TikTok and people trying to, chug an entire Sprite on TikTok, you're becoming smarter. You're becoming better. You are working on yourself. You're reading a book when other people are looking at cat videos and dog videos on Instagram and TikTok. You're taking action in your business when your competition is trying to be entertained by other people making funny videos. Like if you really take a step back and you look at Instagram and TikTok and all of these different platforms, let's be real. They're pretty freaking stupid, aren't they? Like if you want to grow your business on them, that's great. If you want to grow your following on them, that's great. But sitting there and actually mindlessly being entertained is a waste of your life. You have to take a step back and really start to see what's going on. If you look at your phone and you see that you're on your phone 5 hours a day, 6 hours a day, 7 hours a day, could you figure out a way to trade that time to improve yourself? I'm seeing what people are doing and I'm trying to do the opposite. That's not saying that I don't scroll on Instagram every once in a while. Still do. But if I notice myself in the middle of a scroll and I'm like, you know what? Is this helping me get closer to my goals? Like, is this getting me closer to or further from my goals? If I'm sitting there and I'm researching other people and what they're putting out and how I can make my content better, yeah, sure, that's good. But if I'm sitting there and I'm watching, somebody put up videos of their dogs doing stupid stuff, as entertaining as that might be, is that helping me become better? Is that helping me distance myself from my competition? Is that helping, am I ever going to be on my deathbed and be like, you know what, I wish that my biggest regret is I wish I would have watched more cat videos on fucking Instagram when I was younger. There's never going to be that feeling of, I wish I would have watched more cat videos. I wish I would have spent more time looking at other people put on makeup on Instagram when I was 27 years old. There will never be that moment. It will only be, man, there was this limited, finite amount of time that I had to grow myself and to become the best version of myself. Whatever, even if I lived to 100 years, I only had this finite amount of time, this 100 years, to become the best version of myself, to grow, to expand, to experience as many things as possible. And I wasted years of my life just trying to entertain myself, trying to be entertained. Now, mind you, I do want to take a step back and I want to say this. Being entertained is not a problem. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with any of this stuff. But if you're trying to get ahead in life, if you're trying to get yourself out of a rut, if you're trying to grow a business, if you're trying to make yourself better, if you're trying to get out of your anxiety, then spending time on these platforms is not helping you get better. It's really not. You could still spend time on them, but give yourself a limited amount of time. 30 minutes a day? Yeah, you can do whatever you want. Maybe you just go, you know what? The only time I can scroll on Instagram is when I'm pooping. Maybe that's what you do. I don't really know what it is. Maybe you just go, hey, bathroom time, that's your Instagram time. When you're pooping, when you're peeing, you do as much Instagramming as you want. But when you leave that bathroom, now you can actually work on yourself. Think about that for a second. Because when I look at the world and I look at where everyone else is going, I'm going, man, I'm starting to see this pattern. Everyone's becoming more and more and more and more addicted to their phone. So if I want to set myself apart, what I do is I do the exact opposite of everybody else is doing. I never want to follow the pack because I don't know about you guys, The pack just seems so, if you follow like a sheep, you just follow all the sheep. You're just one of the other sheep that follows other sheep. Where do sheep usually go to? Sheep usually go to the slaughterhouse. I'm trying to distance myself from all of that. I see what people are doing. I'm trying to do the opposite as much as possible. Now, I'm not saying that you should turn in your cell phone and use a landline. Use all of them, but just start being more intentional as to what you're using it for and how often you're actually using it. So instead of letting yourself fall into your phone, because we all know those things are extremely addicting, and falling into TV and realizing that you've been watching Netflix for the past 4 hours, or fall into the metaverse, like you're honestly never going to see me buy a way to get into virtual reality. Not because I don't think virtual reality is great, but because I actually just don't care enough to go into it. Like virtual reality can become whatever it's going to be. I've played some virtual reality games. They're fun. They're awesome. They're, kind of nuts how amazing that they are. But when I look at what I want my life to be, this is just me, not judging anybody. Going into virtual reality and playing video games does not line up with my ultimate life purpose. Am I saying video games aren't fun? No, of course I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is buying a video game console is not going to help me become a better version of myself, is the way that I see it. I've decided to stop being so much of a consumer and try to be more of a creator. So when I'm using those platforms, when I'm using a platform, I'm trying to think to myself, am I just consuming, or am I creating? Right? So like I listen to podcasts. I watch YouTube videos. I scroll on Instagram. I do all of those things, but on all of those platforms, I'm also creating all the time. I'm also creating podcasts all the time. Also creating YouTube videos all the time. I'm creating reels, and I'm creating content for social media. I'm creating content for Instagram and TikTok and everything that's out there. I'm creating all this content. So I take a step back and I say, am I just being a constant consumer, or am I being a creator? And with all the things that I'm doing, I know that if I go and I get sucked into any of them, they're making me more distracted and less focused. More distracted and less focused. More distracted and less focused. So when you look at, like I said, the average attention span has gone down by 33% in the past 20 years since the invention of smartphones. Do we think it's going to get better? Do we think that other people are going to get better? Probably not, because most people don't take a step back and actually look at what's going on. I've noticed that when I look at my phone, it makes me more anxious throughout the day. There's actually a whole lot of studies that are now being linked right now to the rise in people's ADD and ADHD being linked to how much they're using their phones. And so it's not like something that they were just born with, but people are actually starting to, neurobiologists are actually starting to look at this, starting to notice that people are actually starting to giving themselves ADD and ADHD by how much they use their phones. So I'm trying to constantly remove myself from these things. I'm trying to consciously go, you know what, is this making me better? Now, this isn't going to say like, I don't enjoy watching Netflix. I do, but it's just how much time am I giving myself on it? Like I love watching Succession. I love watching Ted Lasso. I loved watching all these different series that I've gone through, Game of Thrones, all of that. But it's like, do I want to spend 4 hours a day going and watching episode 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 of Game of Thrones? No. Could you give yourself one episode? Sure. Earn the episode. Is it a possibility where maybe you can go, you know what? I'm going to treat myself. Like if you really love a show, that's fine to love a show. It's fine to be entertained, but not watching 4 of them in a row, probably right? But mind you, I'm speaking to myself as much as I'm speaking to you because I've noticed myself do this as well, where it's like, okay, if I get my things done that I want today, if I get my number one most important thing done that I needed to focus on today, I'm going to reward myself with 1 episode of whatever it is that you love watching. But if I spend 4.1 hours a day on my phone and I'm 37 years old and I hope to live to 90, that's 53 more years. But if I spend 4.1, like the average person spends 4.1 hours a day on their phone, like this is what's crazy. You ready? If I spend 4 hours a day on my phone like the average person does, I'm 37 now. Let's say I live to 90. That's 53 more years. That is 9.2 years of my life on my phone. What the hell? That's 9 years of my life scrolling and looking at other people's shit, looking at videos on TikTok, people putting up posters and photos of them traveling with their family and people bitching on one side to another side. it's like, you're never going to get to the end of your life and go, you know what? I spent 9 years of my life on my phone. I wish it would have been more. You're probably going to sit there and think, you know what? I wish I would have spent so much time on my phone. I wish I would have been more present with my kids. I wish I would have worked harder. I wish I would have traveled more. I wish I would have gone on more hikes. I wish I would have experienced more things. I wish I would have had more hobbies that I created. Maybe I wanted to learn how to play an instrument. Maybe I wanted to become a pilot and learn how to fly a plane. What a waste. 9 years of if I am just average at the age that I am right now, if I live to 90 and I'm the average person that spends 4 hours a day on their phone, that will be 9 years of my life spent on my phone, staring at a screen. That's wild. What I've recently been trying to do is trying to leave my phone in the kitchen drawer, like leave it away from me, not even put it next to me, leave it further away from me. Because when it's not around, I don't think about it as much. But when it's within arm's reach, I feel my attention being pulled towards it. And then I check my phone when I need to. I go into the kitchen, I check my phone, I put it right back down. That's how I've been distancing myself. I've been trying to watch my screen time go down. If you have an iPhone, there's an app, widget called Screen Time, where it actually shows you how much time you're spending on your screen every single day. And I take that widget, I actually put it on the home screen. So it's the very first thing that I see when I open up my phone. And I try to make that number go lower and lower and lower and lower and lower. And so, I've gotten my phone time down to around 2 hours on average per day. And I run my entire business on my phone. Huge amount of people in my company most people in my company don't live in Austin. So my phone is needed. But how can you start to look at it and say, okay, I'm going to trade my entertainment for education. I'm going to trade watching these videos to becoming better, to learning that instrument, to getting better at a hobby, to spending more time with my children, or spending more time with my spouse, or taking more time to meditate or work out, or whatever it is that you want to do. Is what I'm doing right now getting me closer to or further from our goals? How can you take action that moves the needle in your life instead of just trying to be entertained? Trade your entertainment for education. I'm not saying never be entertained. I'm just saying try to lower it a little bit, right? Try to become a little bit better with each day. Would you rather watch cat videos, or would you rather work hard and watch a sunset in Greece because you took action in the past and created an amazing life? Cat videos or Greek sunsets? Which one do you want? Can you distance yourself and become more like a superhuman over the coming years? Because people are only going to get more and more and more and more addicted to their phones. The more that you could pull yourself back from it, the more that you are going to be like a superhuman. People are going to be going into the metaverse, I guess, is what people are talking about. Personally, just going to be honest with you, I'm not taking part of it. I like the universe I live in. It's pretty damn awesome. I'd rather traveling to amazing places than sit on my couch and, pretend I'm in an amazing place. I'd rather eat pasta in Italy than virtually play tennis with somebody that's in a different city than me. The way the world is going is towards that, it looks like. I'm planning ahead and I'm making plans saying that's not really what I want to do. I'm not resisting it. I'm just saying, that's just not what I want to do. It's not really, everybody can do whatever it is they want, but I'm just telling you my point of view of where I see it going and where I see myself going. I'm just watching it. The future will become whatever it's going to become, but I'm planning on how I can get myself ahead so that when I look at myself compared to everybody else, years down the road, I'm going, you know what? It goes back to one of my phrases my very first mentor used to always say, I will do today what other people will not, so that when you fast forward into the future, I can do what other people can't. I will do today what other people will not, so that I can do later on in the future what other people can't. That's really what it comes down to. Can you trade your entertainment for education and get yourself light years ahead of everybody else? So that's what I got for you for today's episode. If you love this episode, share it on your Instagram stories so that more people out there can hear this who are on Instagram, and maybe we can pull them out of that entertainment to start helping them get better as well. And with that, I'm going to leave you the same way I leave you every single episode. Make it your mission to make somebody else's day better. I appreciate you, and I hope that you have an amazing day. In today's video, I'm going to give you 8 techniques to use to relieve your daily stress whenever you feel stressed or anxious throughout your day. Let's dive in. We all know that it seems like since 2020, things have gotten more and more and more and more stressful. And I don't know if you guys are the same as me. It just seems to build up. And what I needed was tools in my tool belt that when I feel like there's stress coming up, when I feel like there's anxiety coming up, because I have stress and anxiety just like other people do. But what I want to have is I want to have tools in my tool belt so that when it happens, I can pull out a tool and say, hey, does this help with my stress and anxiety? Hey, does this help with my stress and anxiety? Because I don't want to let it overtake me or anything like that. I want to be the one that's in charge. And so let me go through the 8 tips with you, the 8 techniques with you. The first one, which you've been listening to this podcast for a while, you know, is breathing. The very first thing to shift in your body, whether you're excited, whether you're sad, whether you're happy, whether you're emotional, whether you're terrified, the very first thing to shift is your breath. And then the very next thing is your heart rate. And so I know that if I feel a shift in my body that goes a way that I don't want it to go, I am going to go back to my breath. Then what I do, at least 6 deep breaths. And it's very simple. It's just in through the nose, out through the mouth. And when I breathe out through the mouth, it's breathing out like I'm breathing out through a straw. So it's a long exhale. I want my inhale to be around 4 or 5-ish seconds. My exhale to be anywhere between 8 to 10 seconds. So it's literally just... The longer you exhale, the more your heart rate actually slows down. When we breathe in deeply, we supply more oxygen to our brain and to our body, which creates a sense of calm and alertness, but also counteracts the fight or flight mechanism that's inside of your brain. So when you're stressed or you're anxious, immediately your fight or flight kicks on, and now you're going, oh my God, I'm anxious, I'm stressed, I don't know what to do. Okay. Breathing is going to counteract the fight or flight mechanism that's inside of your brain. So when we're actually physiologically speaking, deep breathing exercises activates the body's parasympathetic nervous system. And so if you've been listening to me for a while, when I talk about how to actually calm your body down and how to change your nervous system, there is your sympathetic nervous system, which is and it can be excited, it can be intense, it can be stress, fight or flight. That's the sympathetic nervous system. Parasympathetic is calm, cool, collected. So physiologically speaking, deep breathing activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which helps counteract the stress-induced sympathetic nervous system activity. Something that's really crazy, now that I have a baby and I'm always, calming him down, all that stuff, and this is something that I learned from reading about it, to actually help calm the baby's nervous system down, is that if you're holding a baby that's stressed out, whatever it might be, crying, and you take 3 deep breaths, the baby's nervous system will start to calm down with your nervous system. And so 3 deep breaths can change not only your nervous system, but also the baby that you're holding's nervous system. But there was a study that was done in Japan years ago that found out that 6 deep breaths can massively change the state that somebody is in. It takes maybe a minute and a half. So whenever your state shifts to a place you don't want to be, just immediately go back to your breath. Okay? You can decrease your heart rate, reduce your blood pressure, and relax a little bit more. The next thing that I always go to as well is gratitude. What you focus on grows. Focusing on what you don't want is going to you're going to notice more things that you don't want. What you don't have, you're going to notice more things you don't have. What you used to have that you don't have anymore, you're going to start noticing that. What you need to do is change your perspective. And, in the last episode and many episodes, I say, set your GPS for how you want to feel. So I focus on gratitude first thing in the morning. I get it. It sounds corny and cliche and boop, boopy doo. Okay, hippie, you want to focus on gratitude? But it actually works because you're setting your reticular activating system to pay attention to things that you're grateful for so that you find more things to be grateful for, which is going to have less feeling of lack, of loss, of longing, of stress, of anxiety, all of that. So you change your perspective. Think about everything that you have. Think about everything that's around you. Think about everyone that you could be grateful for. If you think about what you don't have, what you want, all that, how your life isn't where you want to be, that can be stressful. That can bother the hell out of you. And often we become consumed with what we don't have or what we lost or what we desire. And if we're constantly focusing on that, it's going to stress us out. It amplifies our stress levels. So what I like to do is focus on what it is that I have that I can be grateful for. If you're sitting and listening to me and you have nothing or you feel like you have nothing, you woke up today. You've got breath and you've got a heartbeat. 150,000 people didn't wake up today that were alive yesterday. That's something you can be grateful for. You're here, you're listening to this. And so can you focus on gratitude? The third thing is just go for a walk. Walking has a lot of therapeutic benefits for humans. Forward motion seen through the eyes actually starts to lower cortisol levels in your brain. And cortisol is a stress hormone. So simply going for a walk for 10 minutes without your phone, without headphones, because if you go for a walk and you just look at your phone the entire time, it's not going to help. You want to actually look forward and watch all of the stuff pass by your peripheral vision. That actually calms you down and lowers your cortisol. And so you just go for a walk for 10 minutes. Disconnect from whatever it is that's actually stressing you out. And if possible, try to do it in nature. Being in nature has been shown to lower, just being in nature itself has been shown to lower your cortisol levels. So if you can go for a walk that's like a walk around a garden, or if you can find a little park that you can go walk around, that will lower your stress hormones as well. The natural environment that you're out in promotes a calming effect, which is also, it's called, I hope I don't mispronounce this, biophilia hypothesis is what it is. Suggests that humans have an innate desire to connect with nature. And so walking in nature has been associated with decreased levels of depression. And really what it comes down to is, can you go out in the forest? Can you go out around trees? You know, there's a thing that's called, in Japan, it's called Shin-rin yoku. I hope I didn't destroy that, which basically means forest bathing. It's a Japanese concept that translates to taking in the forest atmosphere or forest bathing. And it involves immersing yourself into a forest environment, be around trees. And it's been shown scientifically to lower physical and mental health problems. So if you feel like you have physical problems, if you feel like you have mental health problems, just being in nature tends to help a lot. So go for a walk in nature if you can. Hey, real quick, I want to introduce you to something called Mindset Mentor Plus. If you love this podcast, you will absolutely love what I'm about to talk about. I designed Mindset Mentor Plus to help you actively integrate every one of these episodes into your life. And here's how it works. With every episode of this podcast that comes out, Mindset Mentor Plus subscribers get more. You're going to get multiple page, detailed, printable worksheets, effectively a mini masterclass that's way more in depth than just this podcast. They also come with journaling questions, challenges, assignments, and so much more, so that you're not just listening to these podcasts passively, but you're actively integrating them into your life. That way you improve much faster. I also do monthly Q&A sessions in there and much, much more. If you want to learn more about it, go to mindsetmentor.com or click the link that's down in the description. Number 4, another thing that will help you is to write it out. Write it down, put it down, pen and paper, journal all of it out. A lot of times the solution is way easier than you actually think that it is. There was a study that was done in 1986. It was called Confronting a Traumatic Event Toward Understanding of Inhibition and Disease. So toward an understanding of inhibition disease. People always ask, like, what's the names of these? I'm giving the actual names now so you can look it up if you want to. But basically, it was one of the pioneering studies in the area of research where they found the effect of writing down traumatic events. Now, we would think that we write down traumatic events or things that are stressing us out or whatever it might be, and it would make it worse. But what they found was that participants who wrote about traumatic experiences showed significant improvements in physical and physiological well-being compared to those who wrote down about superficial topics. Just, this is how my day was today. And so when you can write down what it is that's stressing you out, what traumatic events that you can have, you actually have a lot more. First off, you feel like you have more control over it because you can start to plan the things out. And then second, you realize that you're reprocessing all of these things in more of a positive way versus being, if you had a traumatic event that happened to you 7 years ago and you've been trying not to think about it, of course it's going to stress you out. But if you can go back and say, okay, now I've done a lot of healing over the past 7 years, I'm going to write about it. And now you can actually start to reprocess it with all of the healing that you've done. That traumatic event from 7 years ago doesn't have as much power over you. The more that you can write things down, the more that you can talk about it, it loses its power over you. Shame breeds in the dark. So the more that you leave it in the dark, the more it can control you. So that's number 4. Number 5, this is something that I would recommend that is a little bit different, maybe not something you would have thought that I would talk about, is actually try to get your blood levels checked. I had a time a couple years ago where I didn't feel like 100% for a few months. So a few years ago. I was like, man, I feel like I'm operating at like 70% of my capacity. I don't know what's going on. And so I went to a doctor, a local doctor, and I was like, hey, I want to get my blood levels checked. So they did this crazy panel on me, tons and tons and tons of blood tests on me. And everything was really good. except for there was a specific vitamin B and vitamin D that I was low on. It wasn't like just vitamin B or just vitamin D. It was like specific ones. So the doctor's like, okay, I'm going to give you very specific stuff that you can take. And there's drops that I should take in the morning. I took them in the morning, and literally within like 3 days, I felt like a completely different person. And I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. I felt stressed and I felt anxious and I felt very low levels of energy throughout the day. I found what I was deficient in. Within 3 days, I felt like a completely different person. I had more energy. I felt more positive. I felt more happy. It was wild. And so just a little side note, the thing that I would do is just get your blood levels checked and just see if maybe you're deficient on things, vitamins, minerals that you're not getting. So that's number 5. Number 6, you're not going to like this. Most people don't, is consider less caffeine. If you are stressed and anxious throughout the day, well, you might be having too much caffeine. And maybe what you should do is, instead of having coffee, maybe switch to green tea. Try to remove caffeine from your life for a few days and just see what happens. For me, I've removed caffeine from my life and I did not have any sort of withdrawals from it, which thank God. But sometimes people have withdrawals from it. So you could either just go cold turkey and see if you have any withdrawals from it, or you could just go, hey, I'm going to have green tea. So I'm still getting some caffeine, but I'm not going to have as much, because there's definitely a whole lot less in green tea. So either completely get rid of caffeine for 7 days, for 24 days, for 30 days, whatever it is that you want, and just see how your body reacts to it. See if you have less stress. I guarantee you probably will. Or at least massively reduce the amount. So if you normally have like 3 cups of coffee throughout the day and you feel like you're really stressed in the afternoon, well, maybe just go ahead and just have 1 cup of coffee in the morning. Just check it out. See if that's what you need. You know, sometimes when your vitamin levels, like I spoke about just a minute ago, are corrected, you realize you don't need as much caffeine. And so I would recommend that. Number 7 is one that I absolutely love to do. If you feel stressed, if you feel anxious, if you feel fight or flight, whatever it is that it might be, and you've got 5 or 10 minutes, what I would do is put on 10 minutes of comedy. Laughing releases dopamine, and dopamine actually buffers against cortisol. And so the way this actually works inside of your brain is laughter has been shown to reduce levels of cortisol, which is the brain's primary stress hormone. And the reason why is because when you have dopamine introduced into your brain where there's cortisol, it buffers it and actually lowers your cortisol levels. And so people, when they laugh, if you're stressed out and you could get someone to laugh, usually it makes them feel a whole lot better because it actually decreases their cortisol levels inside of their brain. The other thing that it does is when you laugh, it releases endorphins. And so laughter stimulates the production of endorphins, which is your body's natural feel-good chemicals. And endorphins promote an overall sense of well-being, and also, oddly enough, can actually cause temporary pain relief. And the other thing that it does, laughing, is physical relaxation. After laughing, your muscles can remain relaxed for up to 45 minutes. So the act of laughing involves many muscles in the body. And after laughter subsides, the muscles tend to relax, leading to just physical relaxation for up to about 45 minutes. So whenever you feel too much anxiety or too much stress, if you got 5 minutes, if you got 10 minutes, put on your favorite comedian, put on your favorite comedy, movie, TV show, and just watch it for a few minutes and watch how it lowers your stress and your cortisol levels. And then the last one that I recommend for you is this. Number 8 is to put on slow music. There is music that is designed for relieving stress. There is a song, and I've recommended it many times on this podcast. It's called Weightless, and it's by a band or person. I don't know who it is, but the band is called Marconi Union. And I found an article on this like 5 years ago where it's saying it is found to be, with all of these studies, I don't know what studies they do, but it is found to be the most relaxing song ever created. I was like, cool, I'm going to save this for whenever I get stressed out. So whenever I do get stressed out, whenever I'm noticing my mind's going too much, I feel too much stress, too much anxiety, I'll put in my headphones, or if I'm driving in the car, I'll put this song on and I'll just play it on repeat. So for me, that is a song that really helps me calm down. Another song that really helps me calm down, I don't know why, but it's the Out of Africa theme song, the movie that is came out years and years ago. For some reason, the Out of Africa theme song just really calms me down. It was my grandma's favorite song, and so maybe she played it a lot when I was a kid, and it just turns on parts of my brain to kind of relax me. But what I would recommend is finding songs that calm you down. I love to go to the gym and put on hardcore EDM or put on hardcore metal. That's not the type of stuff that I want to listen to when I want to calm down. So if you want to calm down, have specific songs that are just tailored towards calming your body down. And there was a study that was done in 2001 in the Journal of Music Therapy. And what they found was the study involved subjects who were exposed to stress-inducing tasks. And the people who listened to relaxing music prior to that task exhibited less subjective anxiety, reduced blood pressure, and decreased heart rate compared to those who did not listen to the music. So literally, before they had a stress-inducing task, they had them listen to calming music, and all of those people had less anxiety, lower blood pressure, and decreased heart rate compared to the people who didn't listen to any music. And so there's many tips and techniques that you can use to lower your stress and your anxiety. It's important for you to understand we're all going to feel, we're all humans. We're all going to have stress. We're going to have anxiety. We're going to have great moments in our life. We're going to have terrible moments in our life. But really, when you start to notice yourself dip into too much stress, too much anxiety, it's important to have tools and techniques like this to pull out of your tool belt and say, you know what? I'm noticing myself getting really stressed out. You know what I'm going to go back to? That Rob Dial guy always talks about breath. I'm going to go back to my breath. And you use it and just allow yourself to calm back down, because when you're stressed and when you're anxious, your prefrontal cortex of your brain turns off. You don't get as much blood flow to it. And the prefrontal cortex of your brain is where you make executive decisions. And that's why when your emotions are really high, your logic is low. And so you can calm down. You can get yourself back to calm, cool, collected, so that you can start making good decisions from there. So that's what I got for you for today's episode. If you love this episode, if you love this podcast, the best way that you can actually say thank you is to actually share this to somebody, wherever it is that might be. You can share it on your Instagram stories, tag me in it, Rob Dial Jr., ROBDIALJR. The only way this podcast grows is from you guys sharing it. So if you would continue to share it, I would greatly, greatly appreciate it. And with that, I'm going to leave you the same way I leave you every single episode. Make it your mission to make somebody else's day better. I appreciate you, and I hope that you have an amazing day. Welcome to today's video. Today I'm going to be giving you the step-by-step process to attract anything that you want in your life. Let's dive in. Today we're going to be talking about manifesting, and I'm going to give you a really simple 3-step process to manifest. Now, I promise you this, whether you are a woo-woo-y person or you're an extremely analytical skeptic, this is going to make a lot of sense to you. Because I can dance in both sides of them. I can be very woo-woo-y, but I'm also extremely analytical and I'm extremely skeptic, and I need proof and all of that. And so, when you look at manifesting has become a really popular topic for the past couple of years, I would say. I've been talking about it for years. I've been trying it for years. I remember the first time I really started trying it, I watched the movie The Secret, and it was in 2008, 2009-ish, I guess I would say. And I remember sitting there and I was watching it and I was like, all right, this sounds kind of possible, but also seems a little bit frou-frou-y, but I could try it. I go to school at USF. There's never any parking on that damn campus. It takes me 45 minutes to find parking most of the time. What if I just try to attract and manifest a parking spot? And so I remember I was driving to work, and I was driving to school, and I was like, oh, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to manifest that spot. I'm going to get there. There's going to be a spot open right up front, and I'm going to get my parking spot real quick. And I was just like thinking about it. I remember I pulled in, went up to the front, and as I was pulling up, somebody was pulling out. I was like, no way. I don't believe it. This is a bunch of BS. And then I tried it again, and it kept working. And I was like, this is interesting. I wonder if maybe my thoughts actually influence reality. Maybe I am the creator of my thoughts and the creator of my future and the creator of my reality. And as I started doing this, I started becoming, and things would work, things wouldn't work, and things started really working in an interesting way. And it was like, man, this can't be like just a coincidence. Like this is more of a synchronicity. And like one of the examples that I'll give you a couple of examples so you can realize like, yeah, it's not really bullshit. Like it actually seems to be working. And if you want to be a skeptic and say it's coincidence, no big deal. That's fine. You could do that too. I completely understand. But I remember there was one time where I was on a phone call with my mom. I had first moved to Austin. I had been here for a few months. And to give you an idea, in 2012, I saved up a bunch of money and I went backpacking in Europe for 3 months. I quit my job. I moved from Florida to Austin, and I was at like the last few $1,000s. I was applying at places I wasn't finding a job. I was applying at places I wasn't finding a job. I had my last few $1,000s. I remember my mom said, she's like, well, what are you going to do? Like you're on your last, do you have money left? And I was like, yeah, I've got a few $1,000s. And she said, aren't you worried? And I said, no, I'm not worried. She's like, why? And I said, because that's not how you attract the thing that you want. I said, I know that I'm going to be getting money in some sort of way very soon. I don't know how it's going to happen, but I know it's going to happen. And if I worry, I'm basically blocking what will be coming to me. And she's like, okay, cool. Like, all right, cool, hippie. Right. And so she was like, all right, cool, whatever. And then I kid you not, it was like 2, 3, 4 days later at max. I was driving my car, and I was driving in the old HR lady, one who was in charge of everything at the old company that I was at that I quit basically a year prior, calls me up and she's like, hey, Rob. And I was like, hey, how's it going? I haven't talked to you in a while. And she's like, everything's good. And she's like, hey, are you driving right now? And I go, yeah. And she goes, can you go ahead and pull over real quick? I just got to tell you something. And I was like, okay, I guess I could do that. So I pull over. And she's like, hey, so I just wanted to let you know, we realized that our system made a bunch of mistakes on commissions last year, and we actually owe you some money. And I was like, that's pretty awesome. How much do you owe me? And she's like, it's right around $23,000. And I was like, no, there's no fucking way. I was like, you owe me $23,000? And she goes, yeah, I just need your bank information. I'll get it wired over to you today. And I was like, this is crazy, because a couple of days ago, I was on the phone with my mom and I was talking about how if I worry, I'm going to be blocking anything that could be coming to me. And I know that I'm going to be okay. I know that I'm meant to be in Austin. I know that everything's going to work out. And I know that eventually money's going to be coming to me. And so really, like, is it a coincidence? Maybe. I don't know. But I've had many things happen like that over and over and over again. Not just money, but just many things happen like that where I'm like, hold on. It seems like I'm constantly creating my future. And so you have to understand, if you're going to go on this journey with me, that you are a future creator. We're all artists. We're all creative. If you look at children are so freaking creative. You are so creative, it just might have been taken out of you in some sort of way. And I want you to realize that with every thought that you have, you're painting the future every single day of what's going to be coming for you. If you look at so many ancient texts over and over and over again say something about the thoughts that you have, the way that you speak, and how you create whatever it is that's coming for you next. If you look at the word abracadabra, we think that it's just what a magician says when they pull a rabbit out of a hat. But the actual word abracadabra is Hebrew, and it actually means, as I speak, I create. As I speak the words from my mouth, I am creating in my reality. Well, what's another version of speaking? Well, speaking in your head is thinking. So as I think, I also create. If you look at the Bible, it says, ask and you shall receive. What are you asking for? Unconsciously in your future at all points in time. You are constantly painting the future, painting a picture every single day. It's a blank canvas. What are you painting? And so, like I said, I'm going to speak to logical thinkers. I'm going to the analytical people, but I'm also going to speak to the real spiritual thinkers out there as well. For the logical thinkers that are out there, we all know what we need to do to create the life that we want. We're probably just not doing it, right? And we are mentally holding ourselves back from taking the action that we need to create the life that we want. Our fears, our limiting beliefs, our thoughts are getting in the way of us taking the action that we need to in our reality to then create the life that we want. And so following this manifestation, the word manifestation, is a way to basically hack your brain to believing that it's possible. If you're very analytical and you don't believe that the universe is conspiring from all angles to help you become more successful and create the life that you want, fine, no big deal. What I'm going to teach you then through quote unquote manifestation is how to trick yourself into finally believing in yourself so you stop holding yourself back with your fears, your limiting beliefs, and all of that. Okay, now if you're a spiritual thinker, everything in this world is vibration. You are at a certain frequency. You attract the frequency that you are at. And so, if you want to actually look at this, like there's fact that the human brain, the human body, we're always emitting some sort of frequency. We're always emitting from us. That what we think and what we feel and everything is not staying inside of our body. There's a thing, if you've heard of EEG machines, EEG machines are the electroencephalograph, I think is what it is. And that's what's stuck to your head so that it can measure your brain waves. Well, there's also one that's called an MEG machine. You can Google it if you want to. It looks like basically a thing that goes around your head, but never actually touches your head, but still measures your brain waves the exact same way that the ones that touch your brain and your head actually do. And so hold on a second. What we're saying is there's a machine that doesn't touch your head but can measure all of your brain waves. What does that mean? Is that your thoughts don't even actually stay inside of your head. Your thoughts go out into reality, into the universe. And so if we're all at a certain frequency, and it's approximately, from what I've been hearing, is that your brain emits a certain, goes a certain distance. But if you look at your heart and your heart waves and all of that go about 90 times further than your actual brain waves. And so when you look at this, you attract the frequency that you're at. So play along with me for a second. Let's just see how this works, okay? Let's say that you're, maybe you're old school and you remember radios that used to be able to turn, right? And let's say that you're on FM, right? If you're on FM, you're not going to be picking up any AM radio stations. So if you want to flip to an AM radio station, then you might be able to pick up some AM radio stations if you flip to AM. And so maybe what's happening is that I don't have the life that I want because I've been tuned into the wrong frequency. Maybe I've been tuned into the frequency of victim mindset. Oh, this is happening to me. I'm only this way because my parents were this way, and I don't have the life I want because my wife is this way, and I don't have the life I want because my parents did this to me when I was younger, and I don't have the life I want because of the government, and because this person got elected and not this person. And maybe the frequency that I'm tuned into is I am a victim, and so then the world is happening to me, and I will always be a victim if that's what I'm going to be tuned into. What I'm tuned into is what I'm going to attract. If I think that I'm a victim, I will always be a victim, and I will attract victim-like circumstances into my life. Okay, well, let me flip it over and say, you know what? No, I'm the one that's in control. I am the author. I am the creator of my next reality. I'm creating all of these futures at every single moment. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to create the future that I want. I'm going to flip from an AM radio station, being a victim, to an FM radio station, to being in control. And you know what? I'm going to attract the life that I want. I'm going to change my frequency and say, you know what? I'm not a victim anymore. I'm in control. I'm creating this. I'm going to do what it is that I need to do. And so there's 3 steps that I really want to go into that'll really help you out, okay? The first one is your vision and your belief. You have to be extremely clear on exactly what it is that you want. It boggles my mind how often I talk to other people and I'm like, what do you want? And they're like, well, I don't know what I want. And I want to kind of like make a little bit more money. I would like to be a little bit more happier. And I'm like, that's not clear. Like, that's like very vague. And so if you're going to get something, maybe you should get very clear on what that thing is. So you've got to get extremely clear on exactly what it is that you want. And then what you've got to do is you have to visualize it every single day. You've got to visualize it, and you've also got to feel it every single day, which I think is the most important part is, let's say you say, okay, in 1 year, this is exactly where I want to be. I want to, make $200,000 this year, and I want to celebrate. I want to take my family on a trip to Italy, and we're going to go here, and we're going to do this, and this is what it would feel like to take my wife and my 2 children to Italy, and to be able to experience it with it, and to be able to have that fun, and this is how proud I would feel. And you start to feel it in your body, exactly what you want it to feel like. What would it feel like for you to feel that way? And what you're trying to do is you're trying to normalize the life that you want. You're trying to normalize what it would be like to have the life that you actually want. In essence, what you're trying to do, for those of you that are just very analytical thinkers, you're basically trying to brainwash yourself into believing it's possible, because too often we think we don't believe anything is possible. We don't believe the life that we want is possible. And so we're actually trying to brainwash ourselves into believing it's possible, is what we're trying to do. Now, when you have the vision, you get very clear on it, and you have the belief, and you start to see it every single day, and you start to feel it. The point of it is to do it every single day, to brainwash it into yourself so that you go, you know what? I think I could actually do this. And if you've heard me talk about back in 2017, my main goal for the year from January 1st was that my girlfriend at the time, my wife now, we were going to move to Italy, and we were going to be there for 6 months. And the goal was July 1st, 2017, we'll be in Rome. And I wrote it everywhere. It was on the background of my computer. It was on the background of my phone. It was, we had inside of our bathroom, we had 2 separate mirrors and 2 separate sinks. And above my mirror, it said, by July 1st, 2017, we will be living in Italy. And I put it everywhere. And I woke up every single morning and I brainwashed it into myself that we're going to be there. And I would visualize it every single day. And I would visualize it and visualize it. And then what I would do is I would go on Google Maps and I would figure out what part of town we were going to live in. It was a part of town called Tristavery. And so I would look at what do the streets of Tristavery look like? And I would go on Google Maps and I would walk the map, quote unquote, walk the streets. It was on Street View. And I would see what it looked like. And I would see what those roads looked like. And I would see what the cobblestones looked like and the bars that were there and the restaurants and what it looked like and the people that were there. And I would visualize myself every single morning walking to a coffee shop that was there from our apartment to the coffee shop. And then what I would do is I would close my eyes every single morning. I would visualize it. I would hold my actual real cup of coffee in my hands. I would smell the coffee. I would taste the coffee and I would drink the coffee while listening to this audio that was called Streets of Rome. And I would sit there and I would visualize myself walking to the coffee shop. I would visualize myself sitting down outside in the chair, drinking the coffee, smelling the coffee, hearing it. And so I brought all of my senses into it every day. And it went from within like the January 1st was like, I don't know if it's possible. I got a brand new business. I don't know if I'm going to do this. My girlfriend, she doesn't have a business at all. How's she going to make money? How are we going to do this? To by the time I was about 2 or 3 months in, I'd done this 60, 90 days in a row. I was like, we got to go. Like, I'm so excited. I'm so jealous of my future self that I have to be there as soon as I possibly can. And so what did I do? I've rushed so much for us to do it. It went from, I don't know if it's possible to, I'm so jealous of my future self. I need to get there as soon as possible, that we moved there on June 1st, an entire month early, and we figured everything out and it all worked out perfectly. But I brainwashed it and visualized it every single morning. So that's the first thing. You have to have a very clear vision and you have to start bashing that belief into your brain. The second thing is you have to have a strategy, right? So this is the thing that kind of drives me crazy that I don't ever hear is the last two things from people who say manifest is they just sit around and just visualize it's going to fall into your lap. Okay, well now let's get analytical. How are you going to do it? Plan it out, put it in detail, put it out the next year, the next 10 years, whatever it is, and then chunk it all down. Make it easier to digest, but don't take too much time. This is what I need to do in order to do X, Y, Z. And you create the actual strategy to do it. And then you just take action on it and you start to change your strategy. So like for people who are over planners listening to me, you're the type of person where like you plan and then you plan to plan and then you plan to plan to plan and then you plan to plan to plan to plan to plan to plan to plan. And all you do is plan all day long. You never actually do it. You've got to start to go along with what I call ready, fire, aim, which is you get ready, you make a little bit of a plan, fire, take action, screw it up, and then aim. Move it again and, oh, you missed. All right, go a little bit this way, go a little bit that way. Not ready, aim, fire. Ready, fire, aim. You make a little bit of plan, you take some action, you screw things up, and then you just readjust your sights a little bit. And so what you do is you actually come up with a legitimate strategy, a legitimate plan of exactly how you're going to do it. So that's number two. And the third thing is execution. This is the part that drives me crazy when I hear people talk about manifesting. The law of action is a part of the law of attraction. If you actually look at the last 6 letters of attraction, it's action. So most people sit around, they're like, I'm going to attract the life. And for those of you guys that can't see me, I'm going to attract the life that I want. And my eyes are closed and I'm just sitting here. And I think that if I do nothing, but if I sit here, money's just going to flow into me and I'm just going to collect checks inside of my bank account. No, you got to get off your ass. The universe, I don't know how it works, but I do know that nothing happens in this universe until you make it happen. People don't create the future that they want because they're just sitting and they think that it's just going to come to them. They think that it's just going to happen. No, you've got to actually go out there and make it happen. And so, yes, you have to set yourself to a certain frequency. You have to sit there. You have to have a very clear vision. You have to believe. And here's the part that I'm sorry, but I left out in the believing part. You have about 40 trillion cells in your body. When I say believe and to manifest, you have to get all 40 trillion of your cells to know, not to think, but to fucking know that what it is that you want is going to get it. And you've got to tune all 40 trillion of those cells to be like heat-seeking missiles. I'm going to get this. I'm going to create the life that I want. So people don't create their future that they want. Well, they don't create the future they want because they're not going out to get it. They're not believing it. They're not fully on board. They don't have a strategy in order to do it. And so when you look at people and they're not creating the life that they want, usually they're not taking the action that they need to, and they're not creating the habits. We create habits, and our habits create our future. What do your habits look like? Do they align with the execution that needs to happen in order to create the life that you want? And so really, it's not that hard. You've got to brainwash yourself. First off, you have to get really clear on what it is that you want. Then you have to brainwash yourself and brainwash all 40 trillion of your cells to know that what it is that you want is exactly what you're going to get. Then you've got to develop a plan. You've got to get a strategy together. How are you going to do it? And then the third thing is you got to get off your ass. You got to take some action. The law of attraction, the very next step to the law of attraction, is the law of action. The universe awards people who take massive action. I promise you this, the universe does not award people who just sit around and do nothing. When you get up, you do something, you take massive action, you're going to notice that you start attracting things very, very quickly. And so that's what I believe. I have a lot of proof in my life that this has happened to me, and I've been able to create many things that I really do love, and I only saw in visions years ago. But I believe it for you too. I don't believe that I'm better than anybody else at this. I don't believe that I'm more talented at it. I just think that I've been doing it a little bit longer. I think that it lives inside of you, and it lives inside of every other human that's out there. It just might be lying dormant inside of you. And so it's like, how do you get that part of your brain, that part of your body, all of those cells to know that you create every single future at every single second? You've just got to be very clear and intentional on what it is that you want to create. Get your entire being on board to attract that thing, and then go work towards it and create it. So that's the 3-step process to manifest anything you want. If you love this episode, please share it on your Instagram stories. Tag me in it, Rob Dial Jr., ROBDIALJR. Also, if you're out there and you happen to be on Instagram, you could probably follow me out there. We have a few videos that have done quite a few million views in the past about month or so. And so join us on there. If you like this podcast, you'll definitely like some of the stuff I post on Instagram as well. And with that, I'm going to leave you the same way I leave you every single episode. Make it your mission to make someone else's day better. I appreciate you, and I hope that you have an amazing day.